Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So it is time for my November plan with me, which means the second to last plan with me of 2019. So as always, we are going to take a look at October and then take a look at what I'm planning for November and get into the time lapse. So let's go ahead and start in my PROJO, since that is kind of the way that I start my planning. So October in here, this was a migration month. October is the first month of quarter 4, so this is also the first month that I am actually in here. So I have since filled out my table of contents. So you guys can see here, I've got my vision board. So I've got my quarter 4 and 2020 prep. I have my goals roadmap and then sewing planning, which I'll show you what that actually is. Then I've already set up my monthly. So I've got October, the range of pages, the monthly, and the review. So I've got the 3 months that are going to be in this notebook set up. And I've also set up my October weeklies. So I will have to do my November weeklies after this, not today, but after this. Taking a look, since this is the beginning, or since this is the first month in quarter 4, let's go ahead and take a look at some of my front of PROJO pages. So I have my quarter 4 vision board. So I actually showed you guys this in the plan with me. I have done a couple of things, which is awesome, and I've changed one thing over here, but the biggest thing is I actually decided to add in on the second page a 2020 prep. So I have a couple of things that I want to do in terms of preparing for 2020, and so rather than making a spread somewhere else, I was like, you know, I have this page, why don't we just throw it on here? So I have a couple of different sections. So I have the Reflect and Recharge workbook, I've got the YouTube series, and these are all going to be things that you guys are going to see in the future, but this was just kind of my planning page for this. Then I have my goals roadmap. So I have actually made pretty good progress. I took a day like a week or 2 ago and just spent literally like 3 or 4 hours making phone calls, doing admin stuff. And so I was able to get through a lot of different things on here, which has been fantastic. So I'm really psyched about that. But again, I've got this, you know, I'd like to get through most, if not all of this by the end of 2019. So I do still have another, you know, month, 2 months and a couple of weeks to go. Then I finally figured out a use for my project's timeline. I have decided that this is going to be my sewing project overview. So I do have my sewing notebooks. If you guys saw that video, I'll post a card up there. I have different notebooks that I use in terms of planning projects, but there are certain sort of task related things that for a long time I just didn't really have anywhere, and I was kind of losing track of what I had going on and what I needed to do. So the way I set this up was I have patterns, projects. So I have 2 main sections, and then in patterns I have patterns to print, patterns to assemble, and patterns to cut out. Then in projects I have projects to plan. So once I've got the pattern actually like assembled and ready to go, then I have to decide, okay, what's the fabric I'm going to use? How am I going to cut this out? Like, what am I going to do? All of that kind of stuff. Then I have projects to cut out. So the fabric needs to get cut out, projects to sew, and then I also have projects to sew continued. And these are, a lot of these are going to be things I've already done everything else here. I just threw them down there, so because I didn't need to take up an entire column, or things that I need to kind of fix or mend. So you guys can see certain projects are at different stages. For example, these are for the Persephone shorts and the Winslow culottes that I'm working on. Even, you know, I've been doing test versions, so whenever I get to doing the real version, I don't have to do the pattern themselves because I've already done that. I just need to do this section of the planning. So you guys can see there are certain projects that I've got on here that I've actually finished and others that I'm still working on. So that was how I decided to use my project timeline. So far it's been working great. We'll see if I continue using this for the long term, but at least for right now, it's been really useful. So then we jump into October. So today's the 15th and I am filming a couple of videos today because I will be leaving for Korea in a week, and I obviously need to have some stuff ready to go before I leave because I will not be able to film and post stuff while I'm in Korea if it's not already set up. So you guys can see here in terms of project things that I've been working on, I actually have another one that I can add. I did actually work on my font today and I'm filming. So you guys can see I just kind of keep my projects up to date. I've already made some pretty good headway this month in terms of the projects I had planned to work on, and yeah, looking pretty good. So the back here, I just have a couple of things for work. I honestly, most of this is probably going to wait until November because I just only have a week before my trip and then I'm literally coming back the 31st. So yeah, but you know, I've kind of started using this for work stuff again, and we'll see if that evolves over time. So I will not be doing my monthly reflection today because, as you can see, I still have like 2.5 weeks before the end of the month. So I will wait and do this after I come back from my trip. But we will go ahead and set up November. So next up will be for November, and you guys can see I've got a sticky note here because I've already got a couple of things that I wanted to work on, but I'm such a nerd and I didn't want to actually write them down because I wanted to wait and do the plan with me of November with you guys, so I just wrote them on a sticky note until I could film this video. So next up, we've got our weeklies, which, yes, so here is my first weekly. So you can see here that, you know, I've got my thing. Ooh, I never filled this in. Goodness, whoops. Well, sometimes I fill in the rest and then I do it on a Sunday, so I fill in the morning, and sometimes I forget to fill in the evening. So I'll work on that. But as you can see, this first week in October, I did a pretty good job overall. I did have a fairly large section of things that I had to migrate, but you know, it happens. Then last week, I once again did a lot more, and you will notice, so I did absolutely everything on my adulting list, which literally never happens, and I'm so proud of myself. Anyway, that was my little win for that week. So I had a couple of things that got migrated, but I actually ended up doing a lot of the things that I had on my list, which is fantastic. And then we're up to this week. So as you can see, I'm filming Tuesday morning. I have not filled in anything here yet. Really, I can only fill in Monday. I have started a couple of things on here. So for example, I have already filmed 2 videos, and I was originally gonna film 4, but I was re-looking at my editorial calendar and I realized that there was one that I would be filming just way, way, way too early. So I think I'm only gonna film 3 today, which is a little bit more manageable, so that's nice. And because I'm leaving for Korea next week, one of my projects is Korea, so finishing up all the things I need to finish up. Then I've got social media because I knew I needed to do a filming week this week to get some stuff ready, and then I've got my personal projects. So that's just kind of the way that I set this up. Normally this one would be for work, but because I'll be on holiday for 2 weeks, anything that is work related, I'm gonna save for when I get back from Korea. So I did actually go ahead and set up next week. I am most likely, because I'm leaving on Tuesday and I have to, like, this is when my flight is, I have to get to Paris. So I basically only have Monday to do stuff. I'm really only going to fill in 1 project, I think, because that's like all I'm gonna be able to do. And I am not bringing my PROJO with me to Korea, so I don't need to fill in anything else. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I have noted on here that 7 a.m. in Paris is 2 p.m. in Korea, so I do want to post my YouTube video that one Sunday that I will be in Korea at 2 p.m. Korea time, so that I have it for you guys at my normal time kind of thing. So yeah, we'll see how this ends up. I have a feeling I'm just gonna have sort of a blank thing, and maybe when I come home, I'll fill in with a rough outline of what I did each day, but it's definitely not going to be super detailed because I will be on vacation. I also have gone ahead, I did fill out the last week in October. Once again, I'm in Korea up until Thursday. I'm basically going to come home in the afternoon, so I won't probably do very much on here, so that'll start my November. And then I do have work on this because that is when I'm going to, this weekend that I come back is going to be when I start working on some school stuff. So I wanted to kind of pre-set up some things that I already knew about, and especially since I'm not going to be bringing this with me, I can't really update it while I'm in Korea. So those are the rest of my weeklies. I have not actually set up any weeklies yet for November, and I probably won't do that quite yet. I might this weekend, if I have some time, I might work on setting some of those up just so I'm kind of ready to go, but it's not really a huge deal since I have these days when I come back from my trip that I can work on setting up the first weeks in November. So that is October in my PROJO, pretty low key. I'm going to have 1 to 2 weeklies that I'm not going to use a whole bunch because I will be on my trip and I won't have my PROJO with me, but otherwise things are going pretty well. So next up then is my bullet journal. Whoops. So in my bullet journal, let's take a little peek. So where is the front of October? So I did have, this was kind of, whoops, this was the end of September here, and I ended up having an extra page because I was able to fit the entire last week on this side, and so I just decided to do my pre-trip tasks and post-trip tasks on here. As you can see, I've started doing a few things, but I've got a ton I need to get through before I leave next Tuesday, so I've basically got a week left. And then I've started filling out my post-trip tasks, and I actually have migrated everything that's on this list to the traveler's notebook that I will be bringing with me to Korea, because obviously if I need to add something, I'm not bringing my bullet journal with me to Korea. So if I need to add something, I need it to be in that traveler's notebook. And so I can, when I come back, I can add stuff on here, but it didn't really make sense to have all this stuff that I had already written down and not have it in my traveler's notebook going to Korea, because then I might end up duplicating tasks, which just makes it messier. So I do still have this, but it is mostly going to be updated in that traveler's notebook, but this is what I'm going to be focusing on for the next week. Then I've got my October intro page. Oh, I love this. It's just so calming to look at. And I've got my monthly and intentions. You will notice that, ooh, I have one more I can do here. So I actually did that and I did another session. So I have been journaling every day, but because it's still the middle of the month, I haven't filled that in. I have one more lesson to do to finish level 3, and then I can fill in this little square. And I've actually done all of the things that I had on my to-do list to do for my font. So I'm going to keep working. I'd like to do at least one more font session before I leave, but I've done everything I went to do, so I filled that in. And I wanted to sew one thing, and I've actually sewn more than one thing, so I filled that in. So intentions, we are good to go. I do have on here the rest of my month. So I'm on Tuesday right now, so I'll fill that out once I get there. I have labeled my holidays and my trip to Korea. As I mentioned, I'm not bringing my bullet journals, so I will fill in this stuff when I get back from my trip. I do have a bunch of stuff for November, so I will need to move those once I set up my November monthly, but for right now, everything's going pretty well. Then I've got my tracker, so move that. Honestly, things have been going fairly well. I have been watching a lot more TV, which I'm a little bit disappointed in myself, but I've also honestly been watching it as sort of background noise. So while I've been knitting and while I've been doing some grading and other stuff, like I've put on the Harry Potter movies. So I have actually started noting, it's kind of hard to see, but I have started noting a little BG when I watch TV strictly as background noise versus when I just watch TV and I'm not necessarily doing something else. So it's just one of those things. A lot of times my background noise is going to be music or audiobooks, and right now I'm just in a time in a period where I've been using certain TV shows or movies that I know really well as background noise. So, you know, it is what it is. Otherwise, things have been going pretty well. I have marked on here that I will be in Korea because obviously that's going to change, you know, certain things that I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna have dishes to do. I'm not gonna be doing any cleaning. So that'll explain, like, if I look back at this later, that'll remind me, oh, that's why these things aren't filled in, because I was actually on a trip. So that is going pretty well. I have only read half of a book. I'm about halfway through, and it is a book in French, which this is the last book in French I need to read to hit my 2019 read in French goal, so that's pretty awesome. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get to 5 books or not. We'll see. I have a 10-hour flight going to Korea, so you never know. But yeah, it's kind of trucking along. I've added a couple little stickers you'll see on different pages. I found some October Halloween related stickers that I had gotten like 2 years ago, and I was like, oh cool, I can use those for these. So I just have a little sticker there, and I think I added, no, on my dailies I've added a couple of stickers. So, yep, see here, got some stickers. So dailies have been going pretty well. I have my little mini collection for when I went to Paris for the Bujo meetup. I also did some fabric shopping, which was amazing. And yeah, just kind of going along. So you guys will see here, got my stencil kind of bookmarking. I am currently filming on the Tuesday. So this was 2 weeks. So this was first week in October, this was the second week in October, and now I'm up to the third week in October. So I do have all of this week that I am going to be in my bullet journal, and then I will have Monday of next week. Now, since I'm not bringing my bullet journal, I ended up only giving myself one more spread to finish out the rest of the month, because basically I'm going to have almost 2 weeks that I'm just not going to be using my bullet journal. So I have a feeling that what's gonna end up happening is I will have the end of this week, so that should basically take me up to about here. Then I'll have Monday and possibly Tuesday of the following week, and then I think this page is going to be when I get back, because most of the month falls in November. I might end up doing those last 3 dailies, so the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of November on this page, just to kind of save space, and then the first full week in November I will do in my November monthly section. So I decided not to give myself any extra space because it just didn't seem necessary. You will also notice that I don't have a travel spread in here aside from my pre and post trip tasks, because I decided to use a traveler's notebook for my trip, so I went ahead and I just did all of my trip planning pages in there so I would have those memories in those inserts when I finished my trip. So, and part of the reason why I ended up doing that, one was I didn't want to bring this and my PROJO are kind of bulky and I wanted to really sort of pare things down for my trip, but also because I really want to get through the end of December in my bullet journal, and I'm like really cutting it close. As you guys can see, I'm getting down to the end here. So I've got let's see, the end of October is going to be page 212 and I've only got through page 238. So I've got like 26 pages left to get November and December in here. So I wanted to really make the most of my space. So that's why. I've only got one more spread to get me to the end of the month. And then I have a little page flag where I've marked for November. So let's take a look at November pre-planning. So I'm gonna go back into my PROJO and find my spread over here. So this is my little pre-planning spread for November. So I picked a very short quote this month. I was searching for some different things. So I really like using Goodreads for my quotes. I do search different themes each month, but I like having literary based quotes just as my like database of quotes that I'm searching from. So this particular quote, I was looking for crafting quotes, and crafting does not even like appear in this quote at all, but I just really like this quote. So the universe is made of stories, not of atoms. Muriel Rukeyser, I'm not actually sure how to say that. And first off, I love stories. Yeah, this quote just really spoke to me, and it helped give me an idea for my color scheme, which as you can see is Galaxy. I've never done a Galaxy color scheme, so oh dear. I apparently did not close this pen when I did this last night. So hopefully that's not dried out. So I have never done a Galaxy as a theme, and you know me, I don't actually do a lot of like doodling and that kind of stuff. But in terms of the colors, I picked kind of Galaxy related colors. So I've got, for my Tombows, I have a blue and a purple. So I've got 535 and 606. I have also pulled out my blue and purple Pentel sign pens because I want to play around more with the lettering, and so this will give me a little bit more control. Then I also pulled out my white UNIBALL SIGNO so that I can do some accents. We'll see how it actually goes. But I just have Galaxy kind of as my theme for this month. So moving right along, I have for my log, so it is 30 days, and I've decided on my intentions. So I am keeping 3 of them the same. I am keeping journaling, font, and sewing, and then I'm switching out Korean with knitting because I have been getting into knitting, and after my Korea trip, I think I'm gonna want to maybe take a little break from studying Korean. I will definitely be going back to it, but I've had it as an intention for several months now, and I just wanted to have something a little bit different. So I'm sticking with 4. I think that's a really good number for me. So we're going to roll with that for my monthly log and intentions page. My tracker, I'm gonna keep exactly the same. I really like how that has been laid out, so no sense in changing it. And I've put read 5 goals as my reading goal for the month. Again, I've already hit my goals for 2019, so if I don't reach it, it's not a big deal at all, but that just kind of gives me a number to kind of think about. Then I've also got for my PROJO, I have work, font, and personal. So one of my goals for the end of the year is to get my first font out into the world, and in order to kind of make that happen, I've been making some really good progress this month, but in order to make that happen, I want to really focus on that as a goal. So work, I obviously have things I need to work on, and I've got 2 ideas there already laid out, but font is going to be a big one for me to really work through for the end of the year. And then personal, I have some other things that have come up, and I will look at my mind map for Q4 and see what else I want to kind of focus on, but I've decided those are going to be my big 3 things that I want to work on for November. So back in my bullet journal, I have, as I mentioned, I have marked my page here. I have not done any sort of setup over here. I will be lettering my quote, but I don't really know what it's gonna look like. It's gonna be a surprise to all of us. But I did do a couple of little pencil tick marks for my monthly and for my tracker, just to make that a little bit easier on myself. Otherwise, we are ready to go. So I will see you guys on the other end, and we'll see how it all went. So that is November all set up. So let's go ahead and take a look at how things turned out in my PROJO and in my bullet journal. So you'll see here I've set up my November. There's only 30 days, so I just crossed off the bottom. I have my YouTube section over here, and something to look forward to. I'm actually going to do a mega week of videos for goal planning for 2020 at the end of the month. So that's why I've got a bunch of stars in a row, because I will be posting every day. I just have a little note here. This is the end of my holidays, but otherwise I'm going to fill this in as I go through the month. I've written in a couple of different things over here. I didn't quite get all of the ones on this list, so that's why the sticky note is still on here. But I'm gonna kind of wait and see how the end of this week goes before I start adding more things onto this list. So just leave that there. And that was all I set up in here. I don't have anything over here yet. I think because I used so little on this, I will probably keep this spread for work stuff and save this one for something else if I need it, but I don't have anything right yet, so I'm just gonna leave it blank. And I didn't actually set up any more weeklies, so I will get to those a little bit later. So now let's take a look in my bullet journal. So I had some fun with this one. Let's see if I can sort of show you. So on the universe, I did add a little bit of detailing, so little stars. I did drop shadows on all of my letters, and I did sort of different effects with all of them. So I just had a regular drop shadow. I did a drop shadow that I then outlined with a white gel pen, and then this was just a line creating a space, just kind of for fun. And the way that I ended up doing it is I basically used the Tombow for big things, and then I used a similar colored Pentel sign pen to kind of save space with the rest. So I really like how that came out. And then I decided to just go ahead and print November 2019 just to kind of make this really the focus. And yeah, I actually really like how this came out, and I like this color combination for November. So then I've got my monthly and intentions. So nothing filled in yet on here. I will go ahead and migrate all of my November events on here a little bit later, but I at least have the monthly set up and ready to go. I've got my intentions, and I already know that I want to journal daily, but I'm not really sure how much more I'm going to finish on my font before the end of the month, so I don't really have a specific goal yet here. We'll see how that goes. And then same thing with knitting and sewing. I've got some things I want to work on this month, and I'm going to kind of see, based on projects I have going, projects I want to work on, what I actually want to accomplish for November. So I will fill in the specific goal under in this purple Tombow, so in the 606. But for right now, I'm just going to leave them blank because I'm not quite sure what those goals are going to be yet. Then the last spread I've got, as always, is my tracker. So this is basically the same. I did, if you kind of compare with my October tracker, I actually do have a few fewer things on my skincare. I've used up a couple of things, so I just took those off of my legend, so I didn't have that gunking up in there. Otherwise, it is exactly the same. I really like this setup, so I'm just kind of keeping it as is for the moment. I mentioned I was going to put 5 books down as my goal. Even if I don't hit it, that's totally fine, but I just have my little reading section for whatever I do actually get to. So that is November. Pretty simple, all things considered. So November isn't really a big month just because October was the big quarter 4 switchover, and I'm not quite to planning for 2020, so it's just kind of a normal month, all things considered. I do like the lettering I did for here. That was kind of a fun little change from some of the styles that I normally do. So that is all I've got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed my little Galaxy month, and if you have any comments or questions, leave them down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Hey guys, so if you've made it all the way to the end of this video and are actually watching my end screen and you're not subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you would. There's a little button right there for you to do it. And if you're interested in watching some more of my videos, I have links to 2 of my older videos off to the left there, so you can check those out if you would like to, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.